ask me the big theme of January so far, it's the total breakdown of all speculative assets. High-flying stocks that trade at multiples to sales, not earnings, these horrible SPAC names, recent IPOs that are terrible, and the most speculative of them all, cryptocurrency. Bitcoin and Ethereum, the largest crypto plays, have been obliterated in the last few weeks, including today, before the bounce that you see on the screen. And despite all the hand-wringing about the Federal Reserve and Russia massing tanks on its border with Ukraine, I think the immense wealth destruction in this space has put tremendous downward pressure on the stock market, too. You've got a ton of people buying this stuff with borrowed money, and when the margin calls come in, they tend to sell something else in order to raise cash. In a multi-day sell-off like this one, people end up dumping their winners to pay for their losers, and it spreads across multiple asset classes. In other words, even if you don't care about crypto, the Bitcoin breakdown was bad news for the stock market. And if you're like me, and you think it's a good idea to own some crypto, well, this decline has been especially vicious, really hard. So when will the pain end? Well, I don't know. Maybe this is the end. Today, I want to focus on Bitcoin and Ethereum because they're the most legitimate cryptocurrencies, and crypto's at the heart of the speculative wind down. Unfortunately, this stuff is very hard to analyze because there's no earnings, no dividends, no fundamentals at all. We don't know how many shares, so to speak, are being issued. And that's why tonight we're going off the charts with the help of the legendary Tom DeMark. He's the pioneering head of DeMark Analytics with a storied history of timing the markets going back decades. Now, he has got a tremendous track record when it comes to spotting tops and bottoms, especially in crypto. So listen up. DeMark's got a host of proprietary indicators that he uses to predict changes in a security's trajectory before they happen. You can find these in more detail at his website, which is called Symbolic, and the way that's spelled is Symbolic. Take a look at the daily chart of Bitcoin from September of 2017 through October of 2020. These 13 show buy and sell patterns. They're actually trend exhaustion tops and trend exhaustion bottoms that were predicted using DeMark's fantastic analysis. Now let's move up to the period from October of 2020 through the present. Once again, DeMark's model predicted the Bitcoin peak in April, of last year, and it called the exact day of the bottom of July 20th. You can learn something about the current meltdown by looking at the decline in Bitcoin from April to June of last year, this collapse was as severe as the 1929 stock market crash. We're talking something losing more than half of its value in a matter of 8 to 10 weeks. Sometimes this kind of breakdown can cause structural damage to a given market, resulting in a labored recovery that might not erase more than 50 to 60% of the losses before the decline resumes all over again. However, Bitcoin was the exception. It quickly rebounded off its lows from last summer and snapped right back, hitting a new all-time high in the fall. Will you look at that? Nice comeback. After that extended rally, though, DeMark's model turned negative again, this time in November. Another trend exhaustion top. Since then, we have seen a hideous meltdown in all things crypto. At this point, the latest Bitcoin sell-off is almost as bad as what we saw last spring. It's down roughly 50% over 50 trading days. Once again, DeMark says there's a possibility of long-term structural damage to the whole crypto space, which could translate into a feeble rebound whenever this thing stops going down. But DeMark's betting that won't happen. Let's zoom in on the 7-day chart of Bitcoin. Remember, DeMark has a 13-session countdown pattern that tells him when a rally or a decline is likely to exhaust itself. Right now, Bitcoin's currently at 11. This sell-off is 11 on the buy countdown. We need 2 more negative closes before his buy trigger fires. Now, DeMark also wants to see Bitcoin testing his downside price targets. It briefly broke down below his higher target at 34,495 earlier today, before rebounding off its lows. However, if this rally proves to be short-lived, then DeMark wouldn't be surprised to see Bitcoin getting hit with a 2 or 3 day panic selling climax, which could take it all the way down to 26,355. Who wouldn't want to buy it there? To put this in historical perspective, during the last big meltdown from April of last year to late June, Bitcoin lost nearly 56% of its value. Take a look at this comparative chart. If we get a similar percentage size decline from this November highs here, then you'd expect Bitcoin to bottom at around 30,557. DeMark also notes that Bitcoin's angle of descent last April, got that? The degree of the decline is identical to its current angle of descent. In other words, there's a good chance that history continues to repeat itself. Keep that number in mind. Now, how about Ethereum, the number 2 cryptocurrency and the one that I have a small position in? Take a look at the daily chart. Based on DeMark's methodology, Ethereum hit a 13-day sell countdown, going right into its peak late last year, That told you the rally was exhausted. Now, though, Ethereum has already hit 13 on his buy countdown for the first time since the peak. That tells DeMark that we could be looking at a trend exhaustion bottom right here. Of course, he's not just looking at his countdown pattern. In order to get a sustainable bottom, DeMark also needs to see something hit his downside price targets. But fortunately, Ethereum already broke down to his downside price projection at 2434. So I am incredibly interested in going back into this thing. In short, Ethereum's got all the ingredients for a trend exhaustion bottom, according to DeMark's methodology. However, that doesn't mean it's necessarily done going down. If we get another panic breakdown, he could see Ethereum temporarily dipping to 1859 in a selling climax. But that would be your moment to buy, not sell into the teeth of the panic. The climax is also what I call the crescendo. So where do I come down? Look, because there's not much in the way of fundamentals when you're talking about cryptocurrency, these are digital tokens, not shares in a business. That means all we have to fall back on really are the technicals. And DeMark and his team have proven themselves again and again to be the masters of crypto. They've had some very strong calls with Bitcoin and Ethereum. So the bottom line, when the charts as interpreted by Tom DeMark say that both Bitcoin and Ethereum could be looking at downside trend exhaustion bottoms this week, if not today, I think you need to take them seriously. To me, that says it might be too late to sell, and you need to consider buying. I know I am, especially if we get a final leg down. Ted in Illinois. Ted.
Jimmy Chill, big time, windy city, snowy booyahs, my man.
Done.
First off, thank you very much for the many entertaining and intelligent years of helping us all understand the market just a little bit better with each and every show, my man.
Thank you.
Hey, Jim, back in June, I purchased Coinbase as a safer, less costly play into the world of crypto, understanding that the company makes money by allowing users to invest funds and trade crypto. And, Jim, there's two sides to trading, buying and selling. Yet it seems coin only moves up when crypto moves up, and that's on the buys. With all the recent crypto dumping, why hasn't Coinbase seen a move up on the selling transactions? I'm a little confused by this.
Well, it's a good question. I think it's probably not nearly as good. I don't think it's not nearly as good as proxy as people think. I think there are real issues with the company. I don't like the way that they approach the regulators. We had Gary Gensler on last week, the chairman of the SEC. I think they should have gone to the SEC very quietly and said, here's the things that we're doing, as opposed to coming on air and saying, here's what he should be doing. And I think that they destroyed their own proxy value by being quite belligerent, if you want to know the truth. Okay. Tonight's chartist thinks Bitcoin and Ethereum could be looking at downside trend exhaustion bottoms. I like this. That means it could be too late to sell. Consider buying. All right, much more mad money. From trains to cargo ships, the supply chain disruptions continue. I'm discussing when the pain could come to an end with a private player working to manage the fallout. Then, there were a lot of headlines out of Russia this weekend, and I'm breaking them down to what you need to know. And all your calls rapid fire tonight's edition of the Lightning Round. So stay with Cramer.